Picture this. It's 8:15 in the morning. A child arrives at the setting, latching onto your leg, refusing to let go, refusing to join activities. Another child is saying no very loudly for the third time this morning. In the other corner, another child is calling your name again and again and again, although you answered 30 seconds ago. What if these children are not trying to give you a hard time? What if they are having a hard time? Welcome back to Teaching Tuesday. I am Magdalise, and today we are exploring how we understand behavior as communication. For decades, early childhood practice has often treated behavior as something to manage, correct, or extinguish. A clingy child encourage independence. Defiant, set firm boundaries. Attention seeking, don't give in. But here's what the research is telling us. These behaviors aren't random and not manipulation. They are messages about a child's development, their relationships, their needs, and their experiences. Today, we are going to unpack what these three common behaviors might actually be telling us at the different age groups. And importantly, we are going to look at why we are seeing as much of this right now, including some research that every ECD practitioner needs to know. Let's look at our first child, the one who won't separate, who clings, who seems anxious the moment a trusted adult moves away. Our instinct is to see this as a problem to fix. They need to learn independence, or they're so attached to me. But developmentally, what we often may be looking at is an attachment system that hasn't yet built enough trust in this environment to feel comfortable to explore it. Let's look at what it looks like at the different age groups. In the age group 0 to 2 years, clinging is almost always developmentally appropriate. This is the age of forming primary attachments. A child clinging to you is essentially saying, I don't yet know if you are a safe base from which I can explore. I need you to prove it through repetition and consistency. Your response here should be to stay close and say, it is okay, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. You can look at the toys, I'll still be here. At 2 to 3 years, clinging often intensifies around transition time, drop-off time, nap times, and new activities. This is the age where children are building what's called internal working models. It's a kind of mental map of which and what happens when I'm separated from someone I trust. If that map isn't solid yet, transitions feel really scary. Your strategy should include predictable goodbye rituals, the same words, the same actions every single time. Predictability is reassurance at this age. 3 to 5 years, persistent clinging, especially if it's new or more, can be telling us something different. It might signal that a child's window of tolerance has narrowed, often due to something happening outside of the classroom. A new sibling, a house move, or simply not enough one-on-one relational time, which brings us to something I think every ECD practitioner needs to understand right now. A significant body of research has been building around screen time and young children's social emotional development, and the findings are relevant to the behaviors we are discussing today. Studies have found that what matters most is what is happening instead of screen time and how screen time happens. Think about what a child doesn't get during screen time. No one responding to the facial expressions. No practice reading someone else's face in real time. No negotiation, no turn taking, no wait for your turn. no co-regulation. There's no calm adult's nervous system that I can borrow from when big feelings arise. The connection to our three children today, all three of these behaviors, clinging, persistent no, and constant attention seeking, can be intensified when a child has had less practice with back and forth interaction. This isn't about blaming parents. Most families are really doing their absolute best in a world that's more digitally saturated than ever. But it is information, and it tells us something important about your role in the classroom. The ECD classroom offers play-based interaction. For many children, the hours spent in the classroom with us may be the richest source of exactly the kind of interaction their developing brains need. That reframes everything we do. Every game of peekaboo, every back and forth conversation, every moment of your turn, now it's my turn, as some of the most important developmental work happening in your classroom. Let's look at our other two children. Let's look at our second child, the one that says no constantly. Would you like a snack? No. Would you like to help us tidy up? No. Would you like to play outside with the toys that you like? No. This sometimes may feel personal, but it isn't. 0 to 2 years. No is often one of the first words a child masters, and they say it because it works. Saying no produces a reaction. That's not defiance, that's cause and effect. A child experimenting with their own power in the world for the very first time. 2 to 3 years. This is the heart of what's sometimes called the autonomy stage. The child's brain is asking a fundamental question. Do I have any control over my own life? No is often the most accessible way to answer yes to that question. The practical shift here is huge, but simply offer choices instead of directives, not directing them to put on their shoes, but rather offering them a choice. Would you like to put on your shoes yourself, or shall I help you? Both leads to shoes being on, but one preserves a child's sense of agency, which is exactly what they are seeking. 3 to 5 years. Persistent no, especially paired with difficulty shifting attention or accepting redirection, can sometimes point towards something we touched on a moment ago. A child who hasn't had any practice with negotiation or repeated low-stake social exchanges, haggling over whose turn it is, negotiating which book to read, or compromising over a toy. If a child's daily life involves more solo screen interaction and lacks practice at negotiation, no can become a default response simply because it's most familiar, one that doesn't require the more complex skill of negotiation. This is where play-based learning becomes the intervention. Pretend play especially is essential, a 4-year-old's negotiation training ground, so to speak. You can be the patient, I'll be the doctor, requires constant micro negotiations. Every time you facilitate that kind of play, you are building the exact muscle that makes no less necessary. The child who calls your name again and again, the child who needs you to watch every jump, validate every drawing, confirm you've seen them over and over. Now, I want to challenge the phrase attention seeking itself because I think it can be a little misleading. What if we reframe this as connection seeking? Because that's usually what's underneath it. The child isn't trying to be annoying or demanding, They are checking, am I being seen? Do I matter? 0 to 2 years. Wanting to be held, wanting eye contact, wanting a response to every sound they make. This is how attachment is built. Every response or connection is a brick in the foundation of the attachment. 2 to 3 years. This often shows up as wanting an adult to watch every single action. Look at me, repeated constantly during play. Developmentally, children at this age don't yet have a strong internal sense of, I did something good today. They are borrowing that sense from your face. Your reaction is their feedback system. 3 to 5 years. Persistent connection seeking, especially if it feels more intense than you'd expect or has increased recently, is often the clearest signal that something has shifted in a child's world. And this connects directly back to what we have discussed earlier. Something striking from the research studies on parent-child interaction found that the presence of devices during time, even when not actively being used, reduces the quality and responsiveness of the interaction or the time spent together. The child can be in the same room as a caregiver or even on the caregiver's lap and still experience a kind of relational absence. If that's a child's experience at home, not through any lack of love, but simply through the realities of modern life, then the connection seeking you see in your classroom might be a child who has learned that connection requires effort, repetition, and persistence. They're not over needing you. They're doing exactly what they've learned works. Brief, repeated connection beats occasional, distracted, lengthy conversation or connections. A 5-second pause, full eye contact that tells them, I see you, or saying, that's a tall tower repeatedly and consistently is more effective than a single 5-minute conversation once a day. So let's bring this together. 3 children, 3 behaviors that on a hard day can feel like they are testing you, but underneath the clinging child, that child is asking, are you my safe base? The child who says no is asking, do I have any say in my own life? The connection seeking child is asking, am I seen? Do I matter? And underneath all 3, there's a thread connecting them to something bigger happening in early childhood right now. As screens become increasingly important and compete with the play-based interactions that build attachment, security, autonomy, and a sense of being seen. Within a family, the ECD classroom becomes more important than ever. Not as a place to manage behavior, but as a place where these foundational developmental needs can be met. That's not extra pressure on you. It's actually permission. Permission to see your play-based relationship-rich classroom, not as just play, but as some of the most important developmental work that will happen in a child's life. If this resonated with you, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment with which of these 3 children you recognize most in your classroom right now. I read every single one. Thanks for spending this time with me. See you next week.